Hi guys, here's Paula, and this is gonna be a short video on humidification during ozone applications. So some people say it is necessary to humidify ozone when applying it, and I want to talk about this and see whether this is really the case or whether it might be actually contraindicated to humidify ozone. But first, what does it mean to humidify ozone? Well, humidification, this is the process of running the ozone through water first. So one takes a small glass container, a bubbler, and there's water in it, and it has an inlet and an outlet, and so basically one runs the ozone through that water before applying it. So the idea is to have some of the ozone bond to the water molecules so that what one gets is basically wet gas or humidified gas instead of a dry gas. So there's basically three different ozone applications where one can humidify the ozone, and those are rectal, vaginal, and ear insufflations. So I'm gonna go through each one of them and see whether it makes sense to humidify the ozone. So let's start with the most popular ones, the rectal insufflations. Does it make sense to humidify ozone for rectal insufflations? No, I don't think so. And this is because, first of all, the colon is already naturally humidified and the rectum as well. So there really is no need to add extra moisture. And one has to consider that when adding water to the whole process, there are certain things to consider, like for example, there's a certain way how to set this up to make sure that no water enters the machine. Also, one should run the ozone for a little while for the water to reach full saturation of the ozone, because when this is not done, then basically the water will absorb a lot of the ozone, and this will result in either a useless application or an application where the ozone concentration was much too low. But even if the gas has been run through the water for, let's say, 10 minutes, which should be enough to reach the full saturation of the water, even then it is assumed that the resulting concentration of the ozone, of the humidified ozone, will be much lower than the gas that is coming in. So so there are certain things and aspects to humidification which need to be taken into consideration, but this is something that I will talk in another video. But for rectal insufflations, no, I don't think it makes sense to humidify ozone at all. And even Dr. Lahodny, the inventor of the 10-PES method, what he does, he actually invented also a high-dose rectal insufflation. And what he does is he takes up to 2,000 milliliters of ozone gas and inserts this rectally. And this also happens without any form of humidification. So humidification for rectal insufflations is definitely not necessary. So number two is vaginal insufflations. And here also, the same as with rectal insufflations, this is another cavity which is also naturally humid, and there it is also not necessary to humidify the ozone. Now, but some women, they experience dryness in that area, but even then I don't think it's necessary to use water, because what one will see is that ozone can actually stimulate the natural secretion of the vagina and so restore balance in that area. But I would do one exception here. I would say that for vaginal insufflations which last longer than 30 minutes, so like for example up to 60 minutes, that it would make sense to add humidification. And how this is done properly, I will demonstrate in another video. But I think the reason is more not so much because of the ozone aspect, but simply because of the flow of the gas. I think that any gas that would be run through that area for a longer time, it would result in drying it out. So, yeah, I think vaginal insufflations of longer duration, I think that's where it makes sense to use humidification. And now the third type of insufflation, those are ear insufflations. And I think this is one type of insufflation where it definitely does not make sense to use humidification. And the reason why I think that is that basically, anyone who sticks their finger in the ear will attest to the fact that, there's like a oily, waxy substance in the ears that the ears naturally produce. And as anyone knows, oil or wax and water repel each other. So this is not a good combination. And together with what I said earlier, that basically the humidification lowers the concentration, and the fact that you need to run the ozone through the water first to reach saturation, I don't think this is a good idea at all. But there are people who are extremely sensitive to ear insufflations, and just after doing them for only a few minutes a day or even a week, they can develop extreme itchiness, crusting, liquid discharge, and pain. And the pain can escalate really badly and really dramatically. I actually know people who had to go to the emergency room or decided to go to their doctor right away because the pain became so excruciating. So I think the solution here is to use very, very low concentrations of ozone and to do it very, very slowly and for very short duration. But I still don't think that it makes sense to use water here. What I would do instead is I would do the ear insufflations with this syringe. So this is the 200 milliliter polycarbonate syringe from Promolife, and this is an absolutely brilliant invention. So what I would do for ear insufflations with people who are extremely sensitive, I would basically do this combination between this Teflon stethoscope and the syringe. So basically I would use a higher oxygen flow because this will result in a lower ozone concentration, and then fill the syringe with the low concentration ozone, and then just combine it or connect it to the stethoscope, right? So do something like this, and then do it manually, so just press the content of the syringe, slowly through the stethoscope. So basically do a form of manual ear insufflations. That's my take on humidification and insufflations, and you will find more information in the description below the video, and you will also see some links where to buy this awesome syringe and the stethoscope. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. Bye, and thanks for watching.